Imagine this, a native population seeking land ownership and equality hundreds of years after a wave of European settlers arrived on their shores. Might sound like it is the Native American history, but it is the same story on the other side of the world in Australia. Aborigines there are looking for a new government-funded TV station as a new frontier in their fight for acceptance. Amy Laporte has that story.
I'm gonna burn it! Yeah!
Australia's Indigenous population has long struggled to find an identity in modern Australian culture. For decades, Aborigines have sought land rights, recognition and an apology for atrocities committed against them. From the violent colonisation of Australia to what's known as the stolen generation, white Australians taking Aboriginal children from their mothers' arms, removed with the belief Indigenous families were not able to care for their own children. This is the Indigenous population most Australians think they know. Now a new TV station is hoping to make history. NITV, National Indigenous Television, is dedicated to the coverage of Aboriginal affairs. Its goal, to show another side of Indigenous life to a mainstream Australian audience.
Welcome, that's my flag. What are you? I'm Aboriginal. Ellen Drury,
to have NITV there, free to air, with basically all Australians, almost all Australians, able to turn on the TV and turn on the station and watch and absorb and learn and interact, I think is a really special thing.
It first hit the airwaves in 2007, but its audience was small, broadcasting only on subscription TV. Fast forward 5 years, NITV switches on across the nation, seen by the international community as a major leap forward.
The establishment of NITV will help challenge stereotypes of Indigenous peoples. It will also play an important role in promoting the rights of Indigenous peoples and safeguarding Indigenous culture and language for years to come.
One of the few television stations available without a fee, broadcasting from the iconic Uluru, an Indigenous treasure, and with the help of some high-profile Aborigines. This TV station is writing a new chapter in Australian history.
Wow, our own Amy Laporte joining us. Amy, it's just a fascinating story. And tell us specifically here, who is this TV station? Who's the audience that they're aiming for, that they'd like to communicate? Who do they want to attract?
Okay, well, this is mainstream Australia. I mean, it's important to note that Australia really only has 5 major television networks. So the significance of having one of these dedicated only to Indigenous coverage has huge significance. And I think it's important to know that they're really struggling for a modern identity. You know, they're torn between these stereotypes of a tribal, primitive culture, of, groups in remote parts of Australia carrying spears and hunting kangaroos, and then this, because of affirmative action, similar to Native Americans here, then you have this welfare dependency stereotype. So this is really helping them get over this systemic racism that's really prevalent in Australian culture.
And Amy, remind us a little bit of the history, because you had this National Apology Day, National Sorry Day, where people were saying, look, we acknowledge that there were atrocities that were done. Is there still violence against the Aborigine people? They
were disenfranchised for a very long time. They were fighting alongside white Australians in our world wars, but they weren't given the right to vote until the 1960s. You know, after the violent colonisation, then of course the stolen generation, the National Sorry Day. That was our Prime Minister apologising for taking Aboriginal children out of their homes and adopting them into white families. Now you've got this generation of middle-aged Aborigines who are trying to find their heritage, and they can't, because the adoption records, the birth records, gone. And then more recently, in 2007, we had this very controversial, what's known as the Northern Territory intervention. Northern Territory is in the north of Australia. The government, acting on reports of child abuse, sent military and police into these remote communities and began patrolling the streets, setting out curfews. And that was really salt in the wounds for a population who felt like, once again, white Australia was telling them, we know what's best for you. And that really didn't help.
So this TV station, really a huge leap forward.
Oh, massive leap forward.
All right, Amy, our resident Aussie, thank you very much.
Suzanne.
Appreciate it.